every day. So again, I literally wrote the book and I lean on the book every day. And I lean on these sayings and these philosophies every day because it's not, there's an old saying in coaching or teaching, right? You got to say it 101 times for it to stick, right? And this is the same thing. This isn't something where you're going to read a chapter and say, I got it, right? You're going to have to read it. And I've gotten notes from readers that say, once I got through the first 30, now when I'm having my morning coffee, depending on my mood, my emotions, my challenges of the day, I know which Bretism I need to lean on at that time. And I know which one and which situation is going to help me get through it. Whether it's, again, people will treat you how you allow them to to treat you, or maybe you can't trip over what's behind you or holding yourself accountable. Whatever Bretism it is for the moment is the one. Again, I wrote the book and I'm still a work in progress.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the place where we have amazing authors on the show. Today's guest is pretty cool. I think you're going to enjoy this. If you need a lot of Bret in your life and you're like, I wish there was a book called Bretisms, and I wish there was a book that adopted and borrowed and modified like philosophies for a life with less anxiety, because I have so much anxiety and I really want more confidence. You're like, I wish there was a conversation with a guy named Bret who could give us all of that and more. Well, yeah, Bret's here, and he has a book called Bretisms, and that's exactly what he's giving to us. Bret, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having me on.
It's exciting to have you here. I've been listening to you and checking you out on all the other episodes on different shows you've been on, and it's a wide variety of topics that you cover on all those other interviews, and to have time with you here on this show is really great for me. I'm really excited to chat with you. Tell everybody first, Bret, where are you in this great big world of ours?
I'm in Houston, Texas right now.
The beautiful part of the world, Texas. I have so many great guests there from Texas on the show. It sounds like a beautiful place. I've never been up here in Canada. I got to come to Texas, right?
Oh, yes. But, come visit us in the winter.
Okay, in the winter? Not.
Yeah, give yourself a little bit of break from that cold.
So not there. Like August or late July? No.
You don't want to be in Texas in June, July, or August, trust me.
All right, I'll write that down.
In fact, I may come visit you this
you
summer.
Come on up here anytime. I love it. Talk about Bretisms. Bret, where did the idea for Bretisms come from? And let's kind of start there.
Yeah, so Bretisms came from sayings and philosophies that I've adopted and borrowed and modified. And when my wife and I were a young couple and we were blessed with two beautiful boys, I started kind of saying these different sayings to them, teaching them and helping them deal with their growth in life. And my wife and son started writing down some of their favorites, and they put them on a board and they labeled it Bretisms. And over the years, as I became a youth coach, whether that was in, football or lacrosse or baseball or basketball, I was started to be around other young individuals and using these Bretisms to help them along their journey. And then as I grew in my career and became a leader, a manager, a president and CEO or executive on different levels, I leaned on these philosophies to help the people around me deal with stressful situations and build their confidence. And I started writing the book really when my kids were kind of young, but more just kind of notes around what it meant for them. And so there was something that I could, give to them and they could always have. And my father, he was really the writer in the family. And when he passed away and we were going through his stuff, we came upon a bunch of just kind of half books, if you will, and half things. And he never really finished one or published it. And Dave, that was the motivation that I needed. And he passed away right before COVID, which I kind of felt was a sign, if you will, right? I ended up with, as we all did, more free time than we wanted. Right. And I said, I'm gonna take this free time, and instead of sitting around frustrated, I'm gonna I'm going to really start pouring into to finishing this book and researching the why and sharing my why behind these different sayings and these different parts of all of our journey in life and what they mean to me. And I'm going to put it out there, and if it helps, 8, 10 people, great. And that really was my intention, just to get it off my chest and put it out there and see who it could help. Now, when it hit number one on the bestseller list on Amazon, I was, to say the least, floored and humbled beyond words. But I think because my intention and the book was written not really as an ego boost, just kind of bearing my soul and what was important to me and all my secrets. Really kind of rang true with a lot of folks out there.
Had you ever done any writing before Bretisms?
Yeah, so I've kind of got this from my dad, right? To this day I've got 3 or 4 books that I'm kind of noodling around with, but those all had to do more with leadership or marketing or more business type books than really just pure raw emotion and raw, dealing with the teeter-totter of anxiety and confidence. And I really believe that anxiety and confidence are tied to each other. And, if you can focus on your inner confidence, your inner anxiety lessens. And by the same token, when your inner anxiety finds strength within yourself, your inner confidence shrinks a little bit. So, yeah, so that was, that's kind of how the whole thing came to fruition and is where we are today.
How much of the book is written for others? How much of the book is written for yourself?
Ooh, what a powerful question. I would say the vast majority of the book was intentionally written for others, but as I was writing it, it was shocking to me how short I was falling in some of the philosophies that I hold true. So there was a little bit of a mirror held up to me, if you will, and I held it up myself. Where as I was writing it for others, I was like, I need to do better here. I need to do better there. I'm not as good in this Bretism as I need to be. So although intentionally I wrote it for others, it certainly was self-enlightening for sure.
There's kind of this belief maybe as readers, as we see a book like Bretisms or top 10 or the 10 ways I do the thing or 5 rules for life or whatever, that the authors that write these books have accomplished something. They've conquered something and now they write about it. So like they're living in a different level than when we're as readers, we're thinking, wow, I would love to be able to say that I've checked off all the boxes and now I'm living this new way. But there's this humanity side to authors where you've already touched on it, that even though you've written the book, there's things that you're still wrestling with as a human being, that you're reading your own words and they're making you rethink how you approach life or your family or whatever. So you did say that there's some things that you were kind of working through and the mirror was held up to yourself. What kind? Is there an example from the book that you're like, this is something I'm working on today, right now?
Yeah, so one of the Bretisms is hold yourself at least to the same level of accountability to which you hold others. Okay. And, that one's, I get into the book about, we hold ourselves accountable to our intentions. We hold others accountable to their actions. Okay. Dave's sick. Boy, I meant to bring him some dinner, or he had surgery, or he lost a loved one. I meant to stop by and check on him. I didn't. I got busy. I got this. I've got the kids. I've got work. I've got whatever excuse that we need to forgive ourselves, right? And I sit back and I go, I never did make it over to Dave's house, but I meant to. So, I'm a pretty good guy. By the same token, when I need Dave in my life, or I need Dave to come check on me and he doesn't, right? I'm holding you accountable to your lack of action, and I'm upset with you, I'm angry with you, I'm frustrated with you, whatever it is. And you're sitting there going, well, I meant to go see Bret, right? And, that's something that, when I was writing the book, I thought to myself, I need to do better at that. I need to remind myself more often that, it's my actions, and I need to make the time to do the things and be present and make others feel special, like I preach. So absolutely. And, it's funny, Dave, the way you kind of frame that question about the reader versus the author, and I know you have a lot of authors listening as well to this. And one of the things that was most shocking in publishing this book is I remember the day it came out, my wife had she was upstairs in her office and she starts yelling and screaming that, your book's out, it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble, it's all this. And she was just excited over the moon. And I thought I would be too, but there was really a level of, oh man, what did I do? Right? A little bit of fear there. Like, I exposed, myself emotionally and intellectually to everybody out there, and how's it going to be received? So, I talk a lot about confidence. I live a confident life, and I do have anxiety, but I've learned to manage it, right? Through these sayings, through these Bretisms. But that doesn't mean that it's not still there, and it's not something I have to struggle with. And when that kind of wave of anxiety waved over me, once I knew that my soul was kind of out there bare for the world to see and read and learn about me, it was unnerving. But again, as the book has had success and the reviews have been great, and most importantly, the feedback from the readers has really been impactful to me. How many people it has touched and how many people it has helped. I was able to kind of say, you know what, for momentary panic, it was certainly well worth it.
How did you know that the book was done? Like, you're finished, it's time to produce it, time to publish it. What was the thing where you pushed away from the table and went, I'm happy with this?
At the point when I was working with kind of the publisher and the editor and saying, I'm not a perfectionist because I'm not perfect. And I don't want the book to be perfect because I'm flawed and flawed people are going to read it. And my kind of subconscious fear was exactly what you just said. I mean, you nailed me to the core with that. I don't want people to think that this is, I'm writing a book because I've figured it out and I'm done with my journey. Right. I want to write a book to share with people, hey, these are the things that I lean on throughout my journey, and I'm still a work in progress like everybody else. I haven't figured it all out, but these are the daily philosophies that help me get through and help me get a little better every day.
Are you still writing Bretisms even though the book is done?
I've probably got another 50 or 100 that I didn't put in. So yeah, I'm asked, is there going to be a Bretisms 2? There could be, but I'm really happy with how this one turned out. And I think, for people out there, and that's, you talk about confidence and anxiety, one of the biggest triggers for anxiety is just that I'm not perfect, or I have to get it perfect, or I don't want to do it. And that fear of failure, right? So when you're able to shed that and say, it's okay if I fail. It's okay if I fail in front of, the world. But I got in the arena and I gave it a shot. And maybe my first attempt wasn't successful, so I would do it again. If Bretisms and these 30 Bretisms failed, I would probably be a little bit more anxious to write number 2 and say, you know what, let me try a different way at this. But this one's touched a lot of people and helped a lot of people. And as imperfect as the book is, it's perfect for some, and that's all I can ask for.
Do you have a target audience for the book, an age range, like who, from a reading perspective, Who would this be a great book for?
No, I've gotten feedback from folks in their 70s and from folks in their
Good.
teens, because I think all of us, just the fact that we're human, every day we wake up with different challenges and different hurdles, and some days, there's even a chapter in the book about when things are going great and you don't have anything in your life, and that talks about stopping and saying, hey, it's okay to enjoy this moment of euphoria. It's okay that my kids are healthy and my loved ones are healthy and my job's going well, and the things in my world are going well right now, because life is just that. It's peaks and valleys. So, when you find yourself at a part of your life where you're at one of the peaks, stop and enjoy it and realize it and speak it out loud and acknowledge that things are going well. You're not going to jinx yourself, I promise you. So by the same token, when you're in a valley, speak it out loud that this is just a temporary valley. This is a struggle I'm going through right now. And there's going to come a time in the not too distant future that I'm back at one of the peaks in my life and I'm going to be enjoying it on a different level. So, yeah, so that's kind of where the focus lies for me anyway.
Does Bretisms help us to live a life with more intention, to understand where we're going in life and our path?
I would certainly hope so. Yeah. And there's things in there. Really, there's 30 chapters, Dave, and the reason there's 30 chapters is because it was written to where you read one Bretism a day. So even if there's folks out there that aren't big avid readers, about 5-10 minutes a day, you get through a chapter and you marinate on that chapter. But I would say every chapter has a call to action or a call of being intentional, not only with your actions, but probably more importantly, with having conversations with yourself, right? To help realize what emotions you're feeling, acknowledge those emotions, understand those emotions, just don't allow them to drive, right?
Yeah.
It's actually the first chapter. I talk about that, about not letting your emotions take the wheel, understanding them, but learn how to harness them to where you're not lashing out at others. And, how many of us have gotten emotional, done or said something, and the next day we're like, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that, or I wish I hadn't have said that, or I hurt that person and that wasn't my intention. So, I would say every single chapter has, again, a call to action or some intentionality to it.
Let's go over again a little more about anxiety and how Bretisms helps us kind of focus and refocus around that topic. I heard a conversation recently where the person was talking about anxiety, and they said, instead of saying, I have anxiety, they said, think of it more of, in this moment, I'm anxious. Instead of anxiety controlling us and owning us, and that's our identity, that we have anxiety, it's just in this moment, in this situation, or this period of my life, I'm anxious. And I'm like, that's an interesting turn in that conversation for you as you think about anxiety. What kind of comes to mind where maybe Bretisms are going to help us to kind of face that anxiety we're facing right now?
Yes, I mean, that's really well said. And I take that a step further. If I have an illness, right, a virus or the flu or the cold, right, instead of saying to myself or out loud to others, I'm sick, right, I say my body's fighting something, right? So it's the same type of philosophy. Instead of saying I'm anxious or I suffer from anxiety,
Right.
you can say, hey, there are times I have anxious moments that I'm battling with, right? So to me, when it comes to anxiety, anxiety is the noise in your head, right? That's where anxiety comes from, that inner voice, that noise in your head. And that noise in your head, almost always, 99.99999% of the time, has something to do with either the past or the future. And what that does is it robs you of the power of being present.
Right.
So when you enable yourself the power of being present, just by design, your anxiety lowers. there's a Bretism and it says you can't trip over what's behind you. Okay. And so what that Bretism does is it releases you of your past. Right. And the usually anxiety in the past either comes from something we did or said or something that was done or said to us by others. Okay. So if it's something you did and you're still anxious about that in the past, then make amends, apologize, right? And don't repeat that same action. If somebody did something to you and it's something so bad that forgiveness can't be given, or you don't have it in you, or they didn't apologize, or they didn't, offer to make it better, you don't have to forgive them, but you can sure let it go and not give them the power of allowing you to be present. By the same token, and this is something I've talked with my kids about since they were little, and they would get anxious about something coming up in the future, is I would sit them down and hold their hand and say, okay, let's put as much anxiety and as much stress and as much worry against this as we can. And we're going to do it together. And if we harness all the stress and all the worry and all the anxiety we can, do you think, no matter how much we throw at it, it's going to change what's going to happen in the future? And they usually laugh and go, no, it's not. Right. Tomorrow is going to come, and it's tomorrow's job to worry about tomorrow, right? Yesterday's gone. We can't trip over what's behind us. When we stay in the present and you're just dealing with the things you can control in this moment, you'll feel your anxiety really, really let go.
It's interesting when I talk to people about anxiety, sometimes it leads to solitude and feeling alone, like nobody understands. And there's this silence that kind of, like a cloud, kind of encircles you when you are really dealing with something that's causing you a lot of anxiety in the moment. And not having the words to explain what you're feeling, or feeling like nobody understands you in the moment. So having something like this would be a great tool and resource to go to in those moments when you're dealing with something that is hard to put into words.
For sure. And I think, when you talk about people that suffer from high levels of debilitating anxiety, I mean, certainly I do talk in the book a lot about, how, when we work on our physical self, how rewarding that is and how rewarding it is from outside people, right? We brag about having personal trainers, or we brag about this golf coach, or we brag about whatever. And I think, even more important is our mental health and leaning on that coach and getting that professional help that you need, right? I think, and I think this generation now's got it right? They'll talk openly about, hey, I've reached out for help for therapy because I do struggle with these things, and I lean on a life coach or somebody else, to kind of help me through, what I'm going through with the same type of kind of intentional actions that we would, hiring a personal trainer. But, when it comes to the point of solitude with anxious people, and I've talked and helped coach through some people, they just get anxious in public, right? And there's a chapter in the book, a Bretism, and it goes like this: if we realized how little others noticed us when we were in public, we would be devastated, right? So we think that people are notice us and they like our shirt or our hat or our glasses or whatever. And if I trip or stumble or I drop something, we think everybody's going to talk about it all day, and nobody cares, right? Everybody's so involved in what they've got going on and looking and worried about themselves, they really don't notice us as much as we think they do. And I think it's important to realize that, embrace that, and just to go out and live your best life. I talk a lot about in the book that this life is not a dress rehearsal, right? This is it.
Right.
This is our one chance to live our best life and give as much to others as we can and receive as much kind of love as we can in turn. So, to forgive yourself, to realize none of us are perfect, to just exhale and say, I'm dealing with things, but so's everybody else. And, When we realize that there's another chapter in the book that says everybody's insecure, right? We all have insecurities. We all have that. The most, I'm a very confident, happy, positive person. It's taken me years and years and years to get that. I have my moments that I'm not, and I work to improve that. Um, but that's what this book is about is if I can get there, you can get there too. I was very anxious in my youth and had a lot of anxiety and just kind of practice these daily sayings to remind myself, hey, it's okay. Everybody struggles with these things. I'd like to think I'm special and unique, that I have these struggles and hurdles in my life. The older I get, the more I realize I'm not as unique as I thought I was. Everybody has hurdles that they have to overcome.
A kind of a more negative version of confidence could be misguided as to being arrogant or full of yourself or better than others. And that kind of view of confidence, it's like, that doesn't make me interested. But your terminology around confidence, how does it show up in life? Kind of, how would you define it?
Being always willing to make somebody else's day more special,
Okay.
or their life more special. So I'm confident enough, and I have confidence to compliment other people. And there's a chapter in the book, a Bretism, called "Take Blame, Shed Credit." Okay.
Ooh.
So what confidence means to me is, whether it's in a family matter or a business matter, oftentimes things don't move forward, Dave, because people are so wanting to put blame on somebody first, right? Who do we blame? Who do we get our pound of flesh from? I'm always and always have been the first person to say, you know what, guys, this one's on me. It's my fault. I'll own it. I'm on it. Everybody good blaming me. I'll take the blame. Okay, now let's move forward towards solution. By the same token, when you have inner confidence versus arrogance, right? Arrogance is, nope, it was Dave's fault. I told him, or even after the meeting, I told Dave he shouldn't have done that, right? Versus, no, Dave told me I shouldn't have done it, or Dave wasn't on board, but I pushed us forward and it was the wrong thing. Let's fix it. And by the same token, to me, confidence versus arrogance is shedding credit. So credit to me is a toxin. I can't get it off me fast enough. Now, I haven't come up with a good analogy because it sounds horrible. I'm trying to put toxins on other people, right? Right. But I just have an allergy to it, right? So when I'm part of a group or part of a team, I can't put the spotlight on them fast enough. Or if I see somebody do something special, even a stranger, I can't just pull them aside or acknowledge them. And sometimes it's just as little as, in our daily journeys, we see people that just, you can tell they maybe just don't seem to be in the happiest of places. So sometimes I'll just kind of saunter up next to them and say, hey, by the way, love your glasses. They look really good on your, if I'm in an elevator at a hotel and I'm heading down to a business dinner and I see somebody else get on the elevator, I'll say, man, you're rocking that sport coat. That is a sharp coat, right? You can just kind of see them puff their chest out. And what I try to do in my life is give away that confidence, right? And give away that feel good to others. But I do, and I do address this in the book. There's a chapter that says, of course I love myself. If I didn't, I would change. And I talk about the fear of coming across being obnoxious, but what I mean by that is, and when I say I love myself, I love where I am at this part of my journey, right? I feel like I'm in a good place. I'm not ahead of the game, but I'm not behind. I have ways to go, and I'm still learning and I'm still growing. But where I sit today, I'm proud of who I am, and I love who I am. And once you start saying to yourself, okay, if you don't like yourself, you can't love others. You can't give away kindness and love to strangers, right? You can't. We all see it. We all know those miserable people. And what do we talk about? Yeah. Oh, they're just insecure. That's why they're picking on you. Or she snapped at me because she's in a bad mood, or whatever the reason is. And so I really tell people, say, it's okay to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm flawed, I'm imperfect, but where I'm at right now and how I treat others and how I interact with others, I like who I am. I think we all need permission to say it's okay to get there.
I've been seeing some videos on social media where a person will be walking towards somebody on the sidewalk and they're in their own world and they're not even really paying attention to him as he approaches. And you'll make some random comment about them and lifting them up. Again, nice blazer, nice shirt, nice hat. And the look on the person's face, they're totally caught off guard by a compliment in real time. And they're looking at him like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, you're giving me something
Right.
nice. And it just shakes them out of their routine to do something that's unexpected. So I like where you're going there about the elevator. I think that's a great example.
Yeah, and I'm also conscious too, and this is really really hard. I think with technology and the cell phones and all the cool things we all have access to, we've kind of lost some of that kindness to strangers, just random kindness to strangers. So again, back to, what's intentional, unless I'm in my office or I mean, it is rare that I'm on my phone unless it's, something pressing if I'm in somebody else's company, even strangers, you know, um, I'm kind of looking, and each morning when I start my day and I spend my hour and a half to 2 hours, I never check email. I never pick up my phone. I get up and I go for a walk and I think and I pray and the last thing I ask every morning is to put me in a position to make somebody else's day special. And then when I do that in the morning throughout the day, I'm intentionally looking for that opportunity. And it's not earth shattering every day. Sometimes, to your point, it's just as simple as paying somebody a compliment, holding the door open, telling them they, have a great day. It does, it's not always earth shattering stuff, but it does start to snowball on itself for sure.
I was coming out of a store last week, and a gentleman had parked his new beautiful gray Jeep. He just looks brand new. And you could tell he loved it because he parked it really funny and he wasn't really sure of it yet. And then he got out of it and he's looking back at it as he's walking away from it and admiring it. Like, he's really proud of this vehicle. And it's a beautiful gray color. And I'm like in the moment, I'm on my way to do something. My mind is already on the next thing. But I'm like, compliment his truck. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, hey man, I love the truck. I love the color. Is it new? And he just lit up. He's like, oh, somebody asked me about my truck. He's like, oh, I couldn't wait, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, I just got it. It's so big. I don't even know how to park the thing yet, and he's just getting all excited about it. And he just looked at me with gratitude that somebody acknowledged him in the moment. And yeah, it's a truck. Yeah, okay, great. But somebody acknowledged him. Two humans acknowledged each other. And
Yeah, and he's worked hard
right,
for that, and it
exactly.
could have been his dream truck. And again, the thing I love about that story, back to our earlier conversation, you thought about it and you could have not said anything and walked away and said, you know what, I meant to, so I'm a good guy. But you took it a step further and you said it out loud. And I guarantee he went home and he said, oh man, even in the parking lot, people are
Yeah,
noticing my
right.
truck, right? He that carried on throughout his day. It took you 10 seconds. It probably, filled him up with joy for 10 hours.
I know that I can hide behind my introverted self and give that as an excuse to myself to not put myself out there, to not engage. And because I'm an introvert, it's not comfortable for me. It's a big stretch to do that, to talk about somebody's Jeep to a random stranger I
Mhm.
don't know. And like, I was like, oh my gosh, right? I'm like flipping out myself. Like, I can't believe I'm talking to a stranger, right? So I think for me, having something like Bretisms would help me to be a little bit a different version of myself, an improvement on my base level where I operate kind of without thinking. This gives me more ideas on how to be more intentional, as we talked about already. That this will give me opportunities for me to take something I read in your book and put it into real practice today. That's the idea that I love about your book.
Thanks. And that was the reason why I stopped at 30 Bretisms. right? Because I wanted one a month so you could almost practice that one that day, right? And keep reminding of yourself that one. One that I get a lot of feedback on, it's had a lot of impact on others is, um, people will treat you how you allow them to, right? And so people will say, I read that in the morning. And it was so funny, and especially with people that tend to be a little bit more higher anxiety, a little bit shyer sometimes, or even, introverted, they may not be treated as well as somebody that's a little bit more of an extrovert or, because, well, this guy's not going to say anything or this lady's not going to say anything. I can, you can see. And then when you start saying, hey, listen, I'm not gonna allow myself to be treated that way, then your kind of inner confidence, builds. By the same token, there's another Bretism in there that that which we tolerate, we allow to repeat, right? Kind of a very similar
Hmm.
theme, right? What you tolerate in your life, others are going to repeat it. When you stop tolerating it, they don't, and then you start circling yourself with people that treat you better and do better things, and your confidence builds. And then to your point, maybe a little bit of that introvert
Right.
lightens up a little bit, and you're not afraid to speak up and say, hey, there's times I've spoken up in public many times to people and say, hey, I've gone to strangers, hey, you're not going to talk to that person this
Hmm.
way.
Right.
Whether it's a manager customer type situation, hey, everybody's trying to do their best
Yeah.
here, everybody's take a
Yeah.
breath, relax,
Right.
you know
Are,
it's all good.
did your dad have dadisms that he lived by?
He did. A lot again. A lot of these were his, and I've stolen from my mom,
Yeah.
my dad, my aunts, uncles, wives, sisters, brothers, people they've worked with, I've worked with. Um, you know, my dad, I think, just his general, he saw his purpose in life really. I mean, he made everybody that was around him feel special and loved, and to the point that's continues to be my goal, to get on the level that he was, to just when you were in his presence, he was dialed in, he was present with you, he was trying to boost your confidence, trying to make you feel special about who you were, regardless of what you did or how you did it. So yeah, I think the general philosophy of every Bretism, he certainly shared in.
The reason I was asking about if there's more Bretisms is just this seems like something that you're living in real time. So you're going to come across a Bretism tomorrow that you don't not even thinking about today. It just seems to be kind of flowing out of you, these thoughts and these ideas. They come to you often, I would believe. You just kind of
Yeah,
continue writing all the time, right?
there's one that's not in the book. And it's one that just came to me one day, and I probably use it two or three times a day. And there's one with a podcast, right? And I had done this podcast, and at the very end, the host said, "I never hit record. I feel awful, right?" And none of this was
Wait,
recorded,
I'm
and I
checking. I'm
laughed.
checking. Yeah, we're good. Okay, good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can go. Yeah.
and they were mortified, and I looked at the host and I said, if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, it's still going to be a good day.
Mm,
And he goes, God, I love that. And I said, that's how I treat everything. If I'm on a delayed flight, or if the waitress or server brings me the wrong meal, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, if this is, and I say it out loud, I don't say it to myself because I want them to hear it. If this is the worst thing of all the things that can happen to me today,
mm,
if this is the worst, it's still a pretty special day, right? So when you start looking at these little annoyances in your day, in your life, my flight's delayed. How blessed am I that I get to get on an airplane and be in a different state in a couple of
right.
hours, right? Or my computer crashed. Okay, how blessed am I that I live in a time where I have all the knowledge and the whole history of the world at my
Right.
fingertips, right? If my life ever gets so good where a day can be ruined with something so petty,
Mm,
then I've turned into the arrogant jerk we talked about before, right? So I think that's something really good, and I would encourage your listeners, if you have something happen to you today or tomorrow or next week or next month, just stop and first say to yourself, if this is the worst today, if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, it's still a pretty good day, then say it out loud to the person that unintentionally made the mistake or is trying to help you solve through a delayed flight, the wrong meal they handed you, whatever the issue is, right? Um, and say it out loud to them, because what it does is it relieves the anxiety off of them as well, that they're not going to have an upset customer, an upset client, or whatever it is they're dealing with. It really is freeing, not only for you but for those you interact with.
Your Bretisms feels like a big, gigantic reset button. You just hit the button, you can start again, get ready, a new outlook, a new thought, a new perspective. It just feels like a reset,
Every
right?
Yes, but every
Every
day.
day. Yeah.
So again, I literally wrote the book, and I lean on the book every day.
Mm.
And I lean on these sayings and these philosophies every day, because it's not, there's an old saying in coaching or teaching, right? You got to say it 101 times for it to stick, right? And this is the same thing. This isn't something where you're going to read a chapter and say, I got it, right? You're going to have to read it. And I've gotten notes from readers that say, once I got through the first 30, now when I'm having my morning coffee, depending on my mood, my emotions, my challenges of the day, I know which Bretism I need to lean on at that time. And I know which one and which situation is going to help me get through it. Whether it's, again, people will treat you how you allow them to to treat you,
Right.
or maybe you can't trip over what's behind you, or holding yourself accountable. Whatever Bretism it is for the moment is the one. Again, I wrote the book, and I'm still a work in progress.
Again, that's amazing. You tied that back to the beginning, because I get people think, well, Bret wrote this book. He must have it all figured out. So I wish I could be like Bret. But the idea that you're still living it in real time, even with a book sitting there behind you on the shelf behind you, I love that's a good reference. We're all growing. We can always recycle and go back through these thoughts and live with
Yeah,
purpose, right?
and for the sports fans out there, I mean, you know, Wayne Gretzky still had a coach. Tom Brady, he still practiced. Tom Brady still practiced. Michael Jordan still practiced. I mean, pick your athlete or sport of choice, right? They're still grinding and practicing, and leaning and learning from others. I mean, every day, I take in and learn more than I ever give out and teach others, and that's just going to be all of our lives. You just have to be receptive to it, and I hope your listeners give the book a shot, and I hope they take it with that. This is a book that's going to be with me always along my journey. This is not a book you're going to read and wake up and have it all figured out. This is a book that hopefully you realize, it's an imperfect book written by an imperfect author, and it's just going to help me on my journey of my imperfection to get a little further along with a little bit more self-confidence and a little bit less anxiety.
So this is a book that's meant to be read multiple times, meant to be a resource for you. Because the other thing too is you could read chapter 4 and then come back to it later and you're a new person. And rereading chapter 4, you're going to get something completely different out of it that you wouldn't have seen because you're changing and growing at the same time.
Well, very well said. And by the same token, the Bretisms are pretty self-explanatory. So I would probably bet 50% of the people that have read this book did not start on chapter 1. In fact, I know of at least a dozen or more that I've either crossed paths with or have sent me a note, and they say, I hope it's okay, but I started on chapter 18 because that's the one that spoke to me the first. And I'm like, good, do you. Do it your way.
Interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
So will you continue to write then, Bret?
I will.
Yeah.
I will. I've when this became a number one bestseller, I was the most shocked person out there. I can tell you that. But right now, there's another Bretism, right? Eagle chases two rabbits, catches none.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm intentional on staying focused on where I'm
Good.
at. Right now, this was a 15, 20-year labor of love. And the feedback's been great. The opportunities to be on a show like yours, Dave, I can't tell you how humbling and honoring it is for me to just be a guest on a show like this. So right now, that's where my focus is. In time, like everything, if as this kind of the excitement, newness of the book dies down, then I'll say, hey, it's time to either focus on another book or book business, or maybe I'll go Bretisms 2.0.
There you go. Like, I think because the audience that I talk to who listen to the show, they're always like, Dave, find out from the author if there's more coming, because we find an author we love and then we're like, oh, I hope there's something coming in the future. And that's kind of why the name of the show, Living the Next Chapter, right?
For sure. So I mean, as great as this has been, and as fun as this has been, and like I said, I've got so many more Bretisms out there.
Maybe.
I'm
Maybe.
pretty sure there'll be
Okay.
enough.
Well, we'll hold out hope for that. I love it. Bret, talk about your website, where we're going to send people to connect with you around Bretisms and to follow your journey as well.
Yeah, so bretisms.com, and it's Bret with one T, Bretisms.com. Or you can email me at bretisms@gmail.com. The book's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, some local bookstores and stuff have it. So yeah, all those things are the best way to get in touch with me.
Excellent. I've already ordered mine. It's on the way, so I should have it tomorrow, I believe. So I'm excited to jump in that, share it with my friends and family as well.
And then one thing, Dave, I do want to share. If any of your listeners are part of an organization, whether it's a kind of a Big Brothers, Big Sisters, or any type of charitable thing, or even a teacher that reads the book and said, "Man, I think my students would really benefit from this." You can reach out to me. The royalty from the book go toward donating books, not toward myself. So you can email me and say, hey, Bret, can you send me 5 books, 10 books, 20 books? 20 is usually about the limit. Don't ask for 1,000. But I pay shipping, handling. I pay for all that. You just say, hey, I work with this, maybe a home for, whatever group of folks are in need, or a halfway house or a rehab facility, and you think that this book can have a positive impact on some people you're involved with, just send me an email with about how many books you'd like and a good name and address, and those will all be 100% donated.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the spirit of that. Bret, the one thing, before we wrap up, I'm imagining a coach is going to walk on the field for their training, and they're ready for their students, and they want to do something at the beginning of training to talk to their team. Bretisms be a great resource for a coach on the field. What do you think?
Absolutely. A lot. I mean, I talk about my background of growing up in and around professional athletics, and a lot of these, Bretisms were kind of born being around these, kind of Hall of Fame leader of men. So yeah, I think that, but I think as importantly, whether you're a coach or a leader, I think it'll certainly help you. But if you're not, and you're just somebody that's struggling on working on a better, happier self and self view, that was where the intention of the book was written, for those folks more than the people that are already in a leader position, more for the folks wanting to grow in their personal journey.
Okay. Bret, thank you so much for doing this. Everyone, go out and grab a copy of Bretisms, Adopted, Borrowed, and Modified Philosophies for a Life with Less Anxiety and More Confidence. We'll have links to it here in the show notes and to Bret's website. My request for everyone listening, when you buy Bretisms, is to leave a great review as well. Let people know why you love the book so much, so that more people will find it and fall in love with it and support Bret in his journey as an author. that's what we can do for you, Bret. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome, Dave, and thank you again. As a fan of the show, it's an honor to be a guest.
Excellent.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Bret. Take care, Bret. Appreciate it.
You too.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.